Welcome in, everybody. It's time for me to do another Yu-Gi-Oh video. A video series I haven't really done much, and I do remember my uncut dub video actually was extremely popular, which I am still surprised for. But today I'm going to do something different. It's going to be an obvious top 10 list. You saw the thumbnail. My top 10 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh duels. Now here's the thing. I'm only going to do the duels where Yugi is the main character. Not GX, not 5Ds, not Zexal or whatever the fuck it's called. No, this is going to be mainly just Yu-Gi-Oh! The original series and possibly Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. So let's get things started and let's start listing this shit. Let's hit it. Top 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels. Let's go.
Bring it! Huh? Pay dirt!
Okay, well, we're starting off with a big one. Yugi is not going to be dueling in this one. It's going to be Jinochi versus Rex. Well, keep in mind, everyone, I'm going to mainly go by their Japanese names because that's what I'm used to calling them. Except for Rex and Weevil, I keep them relatively the same. Anyhow, Jinochi is basically the butt of the joke in the Duelist Kingdom seasons. He is a duelist that is growing very, very slowly. And this duel actually is able to capture how good of a duelist he is starting to become on his own. For once, he's not getting help or getting his hand held by Yugi. Instead, he's trying to learn how to fight and duel on his own. Basically, this one is very memorable for a few reasons. One, it's fun watching Rex get wrecked up by a chick, mainly being controlled by Mai, and then on top of that, Jinochi is kind of just curb stomping him, and basically at this point he's a shitty duelist. But he's able to take him out with the Time Wizard, which just kicks ass, and we finally see the Thousand Dragon form. And this is where we get to see the very first appearance of a card that's near and dear to my heart, the Red Eyes Black Dragon. So how can you go wrong here? In my opinion, you really can't here. This was just a really fun duel. Now, there's not going to be a lot of Duelist Kingdom duels on this list. Most of these are going to be set into Battle City. So, when you see Duelist Kingdom, don't be too, like, oh, what the hell? I prefer Battle City's Saga way more because, well, they actually played by the rules instead of just throwing fucking monsters out for the hell of it. Anyhow, let's move on to the next.
Iron Knight in attack mode!
Ah, now this is looking like a duel!
And there's more where that came from. Now let's see what you...
Alright, we're back again with Jinochi versus Rashid. And before anyone asks, I do know in the English version, for some reason, they call him Odeon. Which I do like the name Odeon better, but I'm so used to the Japanese version. Anyhow, this one is Rashid is pretending to be Merrick, and he even is carrying a counterfeit, the Dragon Raw, in his deck. And on top of all that, Jinochi is wanting to get payback on Merrick for brainwashing him and forcing him to duel Yugi. This one actually shows Jinochi's skill completely as a duelist. How much he's evolved from the beginning to around now at this point of the series. And it's not disappointing in the least. It is just so freaking good. The twists and turns that go on. And we also get Dark Merrick in this, which I'm really happy with. Dark Merrick kicks ass. But still, Rashid actually summons the Winged Dragon, and it turns out to be a counterfeit, and it strikes him down with its lightning, knocking Jinochi out with him, and whoever stands up and finishes the attack is the winner. It's very reminiscent of the fight when Goku and Jackie Chun knock each other out, and whoever stands up and says, I am the champ, is the winner. But still, this one is very memorable, and it was kind of cool that it was on top of the blimp. It's one of the most memorable duels in the entire Battle City tournament. But there's a lot more to go. Let's keep moving on.
I'll summon Alpha, the Magnet Warrior, in defense mode!
Brace yourself! I'll summon my Legion, the Fiend Jester!
Okay, this one is definitely a lot of fun. Yugi versus Pandora, or in the English dub, they call him Arcana. I'm going with Pandora. And what can I say, but they really bring up the death toll in this one. I love how sadistic of a character Merrick can be. Basically, in this version, they're dueling with saws at their feet, and whoever drops 0 is going to get their fucking feet sawed off. That's some messed up shit. Or should I just say, in the English dub, they get touched and sent to the Shadow Realm. Ooh! Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I have to pick on the 4Kids dub every so often, and this one is just one of those bad choices. Anyhow, the dub here is literally a life and death struggle. I mean, shit. This dude is so badass that he carries his own dark magician and he cheats. And the reason he's working for Merrick is so he could be reunited with his love once again. Of course, you know, Merrick being the main villain of the group isn't going to go with that shit, and this is basically a duel between who's the better dark magician master. I've always really enjoyed these as a kid, and honestly, it just gets better each time I see it, especially if you watch the Japanese version when the saws are about to cut their fucking legs off. I mean, I wonder how 4Kids would have edited it if Arcana or Pandora didn't get saved and his feet were sawed off. Well, they're gonna say like half his feet were in the fucking Shadow Realm. I'm sorry, I shouldn't keep doing it, but I can't help it. These edits are so... they're just dumb. And it just amazes me. Let's move on to the next one.
Blue Eyesでブレイドナイトを攻撃滅びのバーストストリーム
Here's a duel which has Jinochi as a filler duel. This one is not available in the manga whatsoever. Jinochi versus Kaiba. This one is pretty fucking badass. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, finally, Kaiba can get his mouth shut up about bad-mouthing Jinochi, and Jinochi can finally prove himself as a duelist to Kaiba. In fact, he makes Kaiba sweat quite a bit, and one of my favorite moments here is where he takes control of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which straight out pisses off Kaiba, and I just love it. I love it completely. The animation in here is actually bumped up a bit too. It's kind of cool how much strategy and thought actually goes into Jinochi's cards in this saga, and how much fear is in Kaiba's eyes when he sees that Jinochi is not just any weak random duelist anymore. He finally was able to push himself up and become really, really fucking good. It's easily some of the best duels that I've ever seen, and I don't know. It just makes me sad that it's filler. That's why it's so low on the list right here. It is a filler duel. It's not in the manga, and I really wish it was. I would love to see Kaiba and Jinochi square off, or hell, even team up at some point. But this filler episode's, these 3-parters, I suppose, is about the best we're going to get, and honestly, it's just fun to watch Jinochi take down Kaiba a few pegs. So, I'm not complaining too badly. Even if it is filler, it still is a fun watch.
Allow us to introduce ourselves. I am Loomis.
I am Umbra.
Next we have Yugi and Kaiba teaming up against the rare card hunters Loomis and Umbra. This one finally shows a really good team up. Now, we were given a team up before in the Duelist Kingdom saga between Yugi, Joey, and the Paradox Brothers, and that's great and all, but to me, it wasn't the same. It didn't have that feeling. I mean, you know, Jinochi and Yugi are already friends at this point, so they're going to work together just fine. But what about taking two people that hate each other and teaming them up together? It works perfectly, and the two argue, but when it goes to show that they can get along and are more similar than they are different, they can actually make one hell of an awesome team. This one is a very underrated duel, sadly, and I love it to pieces. I don't know, I just like seeing the two rivals work together. It's very rare in Yu-Gi-Oh! When two people that hate each other are going to work together, but it's also awesome at the same time. I really dig it and pretty much enjoy it throughout the run of this show. It's just fantastic. I mean, I could say a lot, I could say a little, but I just enjoy this one so much so. I always like Kaiba's off-putting attitude with Yugi's nice, kind optimism, and then his overconfidence when he is Dark Yugi himself. It's actually really great, and the animation looks really nice too. Although, I love the stakes in this duel. What do I mean by the stakes? I mean by the fact that if the glass shatters from under them, they are dead. Of course, in the 4Kids version, they had to put fucking, there'll be portals that send you to the Shadow Realm shit. But, fuck, I guess it's funny. I mean, it just works out. I liked this kid when it was dubbed in America. I liked it as a kid is what I mean. And it's just a fun watch all around. It's nothing spectacular, but hey, it's just a lot of fun to see the two people that hate each other the most team up.
I create the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon!
Speaking of two people that hate each other, let's talk about the duel of Yugi versus Kaiba at Duelist Kingdom. I never see this on anyone's list, and this to me is one of the most underrated Duelist Kingdom duels. One of the underrated duels between Kaiba and Yugi in history. I love this one to pieces. Kaiba is wanting to save his younger brother from Pegasus. Pegasus, of course, says if he defeats Yugi, then he can come in and he'll let him have the star chips and then they could duel against each other. It's always fantastic to watch this, and it's on the roof of Duelist Kingdom. Holy shit, the setting is freaking awesome. And, of course, it's also the appearance of the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Basically, Kaiba is toying with Yugi here at first, but then he brings out this big bad monster, and technically he does defeat Yugi, but he does pull kind of a bitch move of threatening to let the shock from the hologram throw him off the roof, which is kind of a chicken shit move to win. But in a way, I kind of excuse it because he is trying to save the life of his younger brother, and he's trying to stop Pegasus from taking over his company. Yugi, however, is downright fucking cold in this duel, and he was ready to destroy Kaiba right here. He didn't give two fucks. It's actually really an interesting and fun duel, and easily one of my favorite ones to watch. I probably watched this one the most out of all my list on here because, I don't know, there's just a lot of strategy put in. Of course, there's those stupid-ass Duelist Kingdom bullshit rules where you just throw the monster out with no sacrifices, but hey, if there's a lot of strategy and stakes put into a duel, I'll give it a shot. I don't really care. It's a lot of fun, and that's all that matters. The duels are just fun, strategic, and enjoyment. And if there's a high stakes, you know I'm going to sit back, pop my feet up, and enjoy this one.
Your name, Winged Dragon of Ra!
Talk about a high stakes duel. Merrick versus Mai is fucking unbelievable. This is one that I watched as a kid, and I was just hoping and rooting for Mai to win. Out of all the female Yu-Gi-Oh characters, Mai is my favorite. She is one of the more developed, and no, it's not because she's extremely sexy. I don't really give a shit about that. But she has the most personality, the most story, and she's the most interesting of the female cast. Even more so than Anzu, Mizaki, / Taya, or any of the other girl characters. I really enjoy her, and watching her fight and duel and hold her own against fucking Merrick is incredible. She actually puts Merrick on the run for a little bit, and this is Dark Merrick, mind you. She almost was able to win and even takes his God card from him, but unfortunately they pull a Deus Ex Machina and take the card back in some magic way because they can't read some scripture on it or whatever the fuck it is. And yeah, Mai kind of gets a bullshit, screw the rules, I have money or I have power kind of duel. This duel would have been hers, and it's very depressing on what she has to go through in this duel. Every time that she loses points, a memory of her friends are wiped out until she's completely alone. And at the very end of the duel is one of the darkest moments ever, that her mind is stuck in a hourglass of sand. In the manga, by the way, it's bugs that will rip off your flesh, which is just way more fucked up. But once the sand hits the bottom, slowly, she will suffocate and die. even though it's just time runs out in the Shadow Realm or she's trapped there forever. I don't fucking know. Personally, I love how sadistic Dark Merrick is and how Mai doesn't even really flinch. Hell, she doesn't give two shits about losing portions of her memory. She just wants to win. And at this point, she is going to win. You want her to win, and you're actually rooting for her to win. But thanks to plot armor, we know she's not going to win. But damn, did she put up a hell of a good fight, and she had Merrick on the run. This is why I say Mai is easily my third favorite character out of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh franchise. She is just that badass, and she was able to turn the tables without cheating, and she was able to make the duels even better than before. Each time she duels, she gets better as the show progresses. And that's why I really like her. And it's heartbreaking to see her go and be left in that hourglass until the end of Merrick's arc. I'm going off and trailing off about it, but man, this one just really hooked me in. Let's move on to number 3.
To worry! I already know exactly what card I'm sending to the graveyard! My plan is working perfectly!
Speaking of Merrick's arc, the end of it, well, what better way should this be than Yugi versus Merrick? Now, I didn't care for Yugi versus Pegasus. I felt that was so damn drawn out. And it was. I mean, every time there's a last boss, the last boss has some kind of cheating ability. Merrick does too, but not as much as Pegasus, who could just see your fucking cards. The dude's a fucking cheat. Fuck Pegasus. But anyhow, as I was saying, yeah, this duel was definitely hyped up, and it was something that you really wanted to see happen. I mean, it was the moment when this was airing on fucking Fox Kids that you wanted to see this shit go down, and it took forever to get here, and it was really worth the wait. Golly, I think, if I am correct, it was about 5 or 6 episodes long. And man, each episode is nail-bitingly good. Although they do go into flashbacks and etc. during the duel, but what goes on through the duel is actually fun. This shows that Merrick is actually really strategically good. He's good at planning and summoning and able to one-up Yugi easily. But what makes him kind of lose face here is basically he's just flashing Mai and his good self. I don't know how good that good Merrick actually is, but yeah. This shows how destructive Dark Merrick actually is, and you can't help but enjoy his character and the performance going on. Yugi is giving everything he's got in this duel, but man, he is getting wrecked. Of course, this round, Yugi pulls the Deus Ex Machina and beats Merrick's ass right around the very end. But man, what we got through those 4 to 6 episodes is fucking fantastic. All I've got to say, this one is worthy of having the number 3 spot. Let's move on to number 2.
You've got to be in there!
It's pointless. Now, you listen, Yugi.
Oh, fuck yeah. Brainwashed Jinochi versus Yugi. This one has the stakes, it has the skills, it has really good animation during it, and it has heartbreaking scenes through the run of it. Jinochi is completely under Merrick's control. There is no way out. His mind is completely lost. Basically, yeah, Merrick is controlling him and forces him to duel up against Jinochi, tying their hands to an anchor, and whoever loses gets dragged to the bottom of the sea and drowns to death. What is so good about this duel is you can actually get away with watching this one in the US version or the Japanese version, because there is no editing in this one at all. You know the character is not going to get out of this. They are going to fucking drown. That's what makes it great. And what's so good is it shows Jinochi's skill level is just as good as it was beforehand, but with him being controlled, he's given a burn deck. Yugi doesn't have the heart in it to duel up against him. And hell, he even gives Jinochi the Millennium Puzzle, which makes Merrick get pissed off that he wants to destroy the Pharaoh version of Yugi. It is so much going on with so much at stake. Anzu has a cyanide tablet in her mouth, and if Jinochi doesn't, or not Jinochi, if Yugi doesn't comply, then she is going to die. And whatever happens, if anyone tries to weasel their way out, they're gonna drop a giant anchor on her. What the fuck? Hell, it's so dark that even Kaiba himself wants to stop the duel, because he even says, even at his worst, he couldn't even come up with something so sadistic. And it's pretty true here. This is one of the greatest duels in Yu-Gi-Oh history. The best friend with mind control, and having no choice but to duel against each other at a life and death situation. It is just so fucking awesome. I freaking love it, and I get pumped up every time I see it. And I'm so glad they didn't go their way and edit the episode out or anything like that. Instead, they left it in, and they left the possibility of dying in. So I give 4Kids props on that. This duel is just strategically stakeful and wonderful, filled to the brim of amazingness. And if this is only number 2, what is number 1? Well, number 1 is me pulling a Deus Ex Machina, but here it is.
So, Yugi, draw your final card. Next turn, 3 blue eyes will attack you all together. The game's over no matter what you draw.
Number 1 is the duel that started it all. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 duel of Yugi vs. Kaiba in Death T. What's Death T? Well, in Season 0, Kaiba set up a death amusement park so that way he could get Yugi to come to the whole thing so he could get his revenge on Yugi, and then he could finally beat him, because he made Kaiba, and this is the anime only, by the way, not the manga, force a draw, something that Kaiba has never had to do before, which humiliated him. This duel has everything at stake. Yugi isn't just using his cards, he's using his grandfather's cards. And this was the duel that started it all. And I mean, really all. Without this select episodes of Death T, well, we would not have gotten the duelist version of Yu-Gi-Oh! At all. And this one is complete, filled to the brim with suspense and action in it. Kaiba is fully and completely a sadist in this. He put Yugi's grandfather in the hospital. And yeah, you'll see elements from the very first episode from the original non-Toei anime series. What makes this one so unique is the animation style. Look at the artwork on that blue eye. And that's not all. Yugi actually has to use his own skill to win. It's not an ass pull like most of his other duels. He actually has to use full-fledged fucking skill to win. And honestly, he wins by luck. He basically just got lucky to beat Kaiba by pulling out Exodia. He didn't do some kind of, oh, there's this pharaoh magic bullshit that he did in the other series. No, this round was full-fledged, utter skill. And it was a skill between the two that just made the duel fan-fucking-tastic. Easily worthy of being number 1 on my list. Beautiful animation, stakes are completely filled to the rim, and the skill level is off the freaking charts. Yeah, it's got that Duelist Kingdom rules, but damn, this is when it started out, and it is worthy of sitting on the throne of all the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels, and I will stand by that. Well, that ends this video of my top 10 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels. What are your favorites? Tell me in the comments. Always remember, I'm listening.
I have a very important question. Did you like what you saw? I'm betting you did. And if you did, you should like and subscribe to Mr. Tim's YouTube. Lots of awesome reviews, lists, interviews. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing out. Always remember, he's listening.